How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another live in the studio where we're just talking about some video marketing ideas, concepts, kind of everything in between, just some stuff that's been on my mind recently. Recently, we've actually just done a few episodes that we're going to be launching about or that we've filmed with our clients, podcast about who they are, what they do, and also a little bit about working with us, Canical Media, and how we've been able to help them kind of fulfill their dreams. It's been interesting because as we've interviewed some of our clients in a podcast format, I asked them all the same questions. And one of the main questions I asked them is, there's so many different video companies out there. Why do you work with us consistently? What is it about our company, Canical Media, that you like? Like, is it just the end results? Is it the team? What is it that we're doing that makes us or makes you want to keep working with us? And something that they've all have said so far is that we make their jobs a little bit easier because they trust us and they know that we're going to be able to bring their vision and their dream to life. And I mean, that's really important, right? Like, if you're a marketer, you don't need more added to your plate. You're already busy enough because if you're a marketer at a company, if you're like the director of marketing, we all know that doesn't mean that you just take photos on your phone all day and post to social media. That means you're in charge of the website, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that, you're in charge of these 70 different projects. You're also in charge of helping with events, you're in charge of this, right? The list goes on and on and on. And you have so much on your plate. And it really has always been a goal of mine that every client we work with, we try to alleviate some of that stress where where they can trust us, where they know, hey, this is our vision, go with it. In fact, some of our clients will, they send us across the country to create some content and they don't even show up to the shoots. They try to if they can, but if they can't, they're like, nah, you got this. Like, go ahead. You know what to do. They don't even send me questions to ask because they know that we understand what they're trying to do, that we understand how to ask those questions, and we understand what the end product needs to turn into and how to get it there. And that's one thing I think that you don't find with a lot of video companies. And I'm not here to talk bad about other companies, but I've been in this industry for 17 years. And one thing I've noticed is a lot of filmers are that they're filmers. They get into making videos because they have a lot of fun doing it. They think it's cool and they follow a lot of these trends and do all these weird filming things. And a lot, you can always tell when somebody's new to the industry because of the way they film and the way they edit. And one thing that I've noticed is most of them don't have any reason of why they're filming what they're filming, right? They think just throw my camera on a gimbal and I'm good. And I'm just going to point and shoot stuff and we'll capture it, we'll edit it, we'll put some trending music, we'll add some flares and this and that through the cuts. And that's good enough. But what most filmers don't understand, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, is that every shot should be shot with intention because your audience is watching this and the lens you choose, the lighting you choose or choose not to do, the camera movement, every little part of that shot invokes a feeling in the audience unintentionally. And so if you're just filming the film and you don't really understand the psychology of humans, if you don't understand the effects of the camera and the shot and how that transpires and or how that relates to the audience when they're watching it, you're you're shooting without intention, which means you're causing your audience to maybe disengage, feel things they shouldn't feel, or be a little bit confused about the video. And this is something I've seen a lot. I know a lot of people in this industry, and I've seen a lot of people come and go in this industry. And, one thing that clients say over and over when they're new clients is the same thing. We shoot a video for them for the first time and they go, holy crap, like we've never had our story told this way. Like, man, this is awesome. And it's not because like we're magical. Like what we do, in my opinion, isn't anything too special. We follow proper filmmaking techniques. We focus on the emotions and the story that we're trying to tell for the client. And that's where it gets really important that you understand this, because the difference between like a 15 millimeter lens and a 105 millimeter lens, which if you're a marketer, you're probably like, what does that even mean? Right. But the focal length, that changes the feeling. And if I shoot slightly above the person or slightly below the person, slightly to the side of the person or in front of the person, all of that changes the way the audience views the subject in the frame. And so you have to shoot with intention. You can't just point and shoot and go. With lighting, obviously every project we can't sit and light every single scene, but like what we'll do is, maybe we bounce a light off of here just to make some soft light so it feels inviting, right? But I was recently on a shoot yesterday, and we were not there as the video team. We were actually hired as the photography team, which is weird because that doesn't normally happen. And watching those filmers film, they've been doing this for probably longer than me. They're slightly older than I am. And watching them film this video and seeing the shots that they're getting, I couldn't help but think, what a disservice to the client. They're not taking the time to light the scene. They're really just, and they had the time for it. I mean, we had the time for it. We were doing the photos and we said we can't film while they're filming because they didn't light the scene. So we have to use our lights when they're done. And so that's what we did. And, when I was watching it, it's like, man, what a disservice, because these clients are investing a lot of money and it's a very important concept to them. And these people that they hired, unfortunately, don't understand the psychology behind lighting or the frames. They just go with what's convenient and easy and looks decent. And, for certain projects, that's fine. But when you get into these stories that you need to tell that are impactful stories, right? About your business changing the lives of this other business because of the service your business provides, or you're talking about, whatever it is, then it matters, because you want that story to be told not just through voice, but visually. And I think that there's so many filmers out there that don't understand that. And I think that's what makes us different. I think that's where we stand out and our clients like us. Like I said, having these interviews with them, the same few answers to the questions I'm asking are all the same across all of our clients. They talk about the feeling that the videos have that we make for them. They talk about the way the story's told. They talk about the lighting and the imagery, the coloring, and all that plays into the way that the audience is going to feel when they watch this. And so if you're a marketer and you're looking to hire a video agency in the future, and I'm not saying you have to hire us, but make sure that the company you're hiring understands these things. Because if they don't, you're investing all this money to get maybe a cool video, and that's cool. It's cool, it's entertaining, it's whatever it is, but it's not going to get results the same way. It's not going to impact and connect with people the way that you want it to. Your audience isn't going to watch it and go, "Oh man, that's me." like, I need this service, I need this product because that's touched my life and I see the value and I feel the value. Because that's, if you watched anything we ever put out, that's one of the most important parts is when you can transport your audience into the narrative where they see themselves in the story, they're living that experience. They physically went through that experience and felt like they've already had that success with you. And that's why they then decide to go move on and purchase from you because they've already felt that success through the video. But that success can't be felt if the camera angles are not the right ones, if everything's kind of messed up and wrong. And yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if it does. I don't know. Does it?
I think so. I can, if you want my comparison to a different field, it made me think a lot about but music, specifically like soloing in like jazz. Cause I'm a jazz musician, and I loved like soloing growing up when I was in school playing saxophone. But it's that same thing, right? Like when you first get into that, you think like, oh, it's an improv solo. I can play whatever I want, and people just kind of play random notes, and it doesn't sound good. But it's that same thing of like needing that intent and that it's still having a direction. You can, and it takes practice to do as a musician doing that. But when you hear like any of those good improv solos, it's just that they had an idea, and they were deciding what notes to play on the spot, but they had an idea, they had a feeling they wanted to convey or a story they wanted to tell through that, and they have the practice and know how to turn their to be able to tell that on the spot with their music that they can play. And it's the same thing. They had to have that intent, and that's especially when I was growing up, the difference I could tell between people who knew what they were doing in jazz and these improv solos and those who didn't were those that had a clear intent, even though it was still like improv and on the spot. It was, you could tell they knew what they were trying to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point, right? When we talk about music and notes, they all convey a different story, right? If you line these notes up this way, it's a pop song. But if you line them up this way, it's a jazz song. If you line it up this way, it's a hip hop song, right? If you hit this note, but you hit it in the minor, now it's suspenseful, if that's right. I don't know. Is it minors that are suspenseful?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Minors usually more so called depressing, but it's suspenseful. It can be suspenseful too. Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not a real musician. I just make music in my bedroom. So, but it's that same thing, right? With music, when you look at music and you look at artists, right? Like I like that comparison because they're so like they all have the same amount of notes, right? If you have a guitar, unless you have a 12 string or a double-headed guitar, right? You have the same amount of notes as everyone else, but the way that you play those notes tell a story. And you can use the same notes slightly differently in a different arrangement to tell a different story. And it's the same way with filming, right? You have these lenses, you have these cameras, you have these apertures and all these things. And the way that you arrange them, and even when you go to editing, right? Because with videos, it's not just the filming, because that's also the editing. How do you tell the interview? How do you put the music behind it? All those things play a role in connecting your audience to the video and telling a certain story. And I've talked about like the role of audio and videos before, but like if you watch a horror film on mute, is it scary? No. Why is it not scary? Because the audio is missing. You don't have that suspenseful note letting you know something eerie is happening, right? There's an emotional connection that literally causes you to get afraid because you heard certain notes played a certain way, right? And there's the opposite too. Certain notes and certain music you play behind your music inspires you, uplifts you, motivates you. So your music choice is important. And it's the same thing with the lens, right? If I look down on someone, it's kind of that. You're minimizing them, you're looking down on them. If we look up to them, you're giving them a little bit more power, right? And so, and then the way you light, like if I light like how we're lit in here, it's pretty soft. There's not many shadows. It's pretty inviting. I mean, we did a darker background today, but I could cut off half these lights and it would feel like an interrogation room, or I can put a light behind me and it would feel like I'm trying to hide who I am, right? Like lighting changes everything as well. And so your frame isn't just pushing record, it's a story. Every single shot is a story. And then you have to also imagine the people's emotions on the screen, the way what they're doing, how they're doing it. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, why am I doing this? There's so many moving pieces to videos. It makes it so difficult and hard. But it's so important for you to understand these things and to see that if you hire a video company and they don't understand it and you just hire a video person, you're just doing yourself a disservice. Make sure the company that you hire understands how to tell your story, because your project's worth it, your business is worth it. So that's kind of all I had for today. It's just a little bit of a, not a rant, but an observation I had from some previous conversations and what we did. And oh, so on Instagram, Deanna was watching and she said, that's how I watch scary movies on mute, LOL. And it's true. I wasn't looking at Instagram. Sorry. I was just looking at how we have nobody else watching anywhere else. Because we're live streaming to LinkedIn and Face or YouTube as well right now. And so, yeah, like watching a scary movie, if you're scared and you put it on mute, now you can get through it, right? There's nothing scary about it because of the audio being gone. Like, and that's one thing that I think a lot of filmers don't understand as well, and is that, and I think most people don't understand that, but audio is actually the most important part of your video. The viewer, your audience, will watch a poorly produced video longer with good audio, longer than they will a really nice video with horrible audio. For example, if my mic was turned to full power and I was screaming and it was super distorted, you would all shut this off immediately. Or if my audio was lagged by like half a second, it would annoy the crap out of you and you'd stop watching it. And so audio is so important for movies. If you have any questions about this type of stuff that we're talking about, make sure you ask. We are live. And if you're watching this at a later time, put your comments in the description on YouTube and we'll get to it when we get to it, because I don't check it often because we don't have a following on YouTube. We're starting to try to do this now. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about what we talked about, if it makes sense. Hopefully it does. And if not, sorry. I don't know what to tell you. All right, we're gonna go. Save me, Andrew. Hurry. I'm alive. End it. End it.